Hey everyone, this is Zoom 360 on the go, and welcome back to the channel. Yes, I do have some explanation to do. We are back at, I guess, what you can call Zoom HQ. So we did skip Sedona. Well, not really. We did also skip Saguaro National Monument or Park in Tucson, Arizona. We also missed Prima Air Museum in Tucson, Arizona. So I had to explain. So from the last vlog, we were supposed to be, well, not from the last vlog, but throughout the road trip, I didn't mention that I was going to stop by Sedona. I'm not sure if I mentioned Prima, the Air Museum, too much, or going back to Saguaro National Park or Monument, whatever it's called. But we're back home. So when I was driving up to Sedona, by the way, the road from Phoenix to Sedona up to Flagstaff, I think it was I don't remember the highway number, but that highway, the travel was amazing. I had some of the best driving I've had recently. Was driving from Phoenix, actually from Tucson to Phoenix to Sedona was awesome. So yeah, so this is what happened, right? I got to Sedona and I realized that I'm just not equipped to properly film this place. I'm not equipped. I didn't plan well. Well, not well. I didn't plan at all because Sedona was the part of the trip that I kind of didn't plan it. I said I'm just gonna go and let the wind take me wherever it's gonna take me. I don't think that it's something that should be done specifically for Sedona, just because Sedona is huge. It's a big triangle. You have that village. I think it's called Oakley Village, and then you have Sedona, then you have Red Rock. So when you look at it on the map, it looks like a triangular path, if you will. So I just didn't have the proper gear to properly capture Sedona. It's gorgeous up there, and I'm not even sure if that's the proper wording for it. It was amazing to go up there. And I didn't plan accordingly. I think I have to plan and know exactly where I'm staying, and it has to be multiple days, because my plan was to film Sedona en route to Flagstaff. It doesn't work that way. Sedona is just too big, too much to do. That location alone, I think, should take maybe 2-3 days and stay there. So I kind of realized that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna enjoy Sedona and not film it, because I think we stayed there maybe, I'd say 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that. So, and I also tried to see that famous church, which is on top of a hill. I can't recall the name now, but traffic, it's such a small church. It looks so big because I've seen it on YouTube. It seems like it's a big church. First, it's really not, and then the parking is so limited. Like, it's a very limited parking, and the road is all crazy, and it was a hot mess. And I think it was during Labor Day weekend, so like, you know, people were trying to get their last bit of trips in for the year. So going in and out of there was just a big huge amount of traffic. So I'm like, you know what, but we drove around. Beautiful area. It's like unspeakable beauty, but we are going to return. And also, I didn't have the proper equipment because I think there's only one camera that I would use out there, and that is the Insta360 X3, which that we will make sure that we have when we return to Sedona, which I want to return in 2023 to properly document that place and show you guys around properly, or as best as I can. I just didn't have the proper gear I thought I should have for it. So yeah, so those are the reasons why we skipped Sedona, and you did not see a video about Sedona. As far as, so after Sedona, went to Flagstaff and drove across to Petrified Forest, and it was awesome. So coming back from Flagstaff after that, the plan was to head back to Tucson, Arizona, and then stay there and then see Prima, the Air Museum, because I wanted to go there because there is a SR-71, the fastest jet ever built. It's there. There is one there. I'm not sure it's in, like, you know, working condition, but it's at a museum. So, you know, just to see it, get really up close to it. It's a very famous museum. I think Transformers 2 was filmed there. So I really wanted to go there, and then also return to Saguaro National Park in Tucson, Arizona, and do a couple of the hike trails there, because I wanted to introduce more hiking, which we did get to do on the channel. And I don't think that was the very first time I hiked on the channel either, because I know I said that, but oh well, it doesn't matter. We did start to do some hiking, because I think hiking is a good way for me to stay in shape while I'm on the road, and I'm going to incorporate that. So we skipped that because something interesting happened on my way to Tucson. So I think I have some footage of this, so I'm going to share that with you because I was filming with my iPhone. So there's a highway stop that's between, I think, Phoenix and Tucson, called Sunset Point, and I stopped there. Oh man, beautiful stop, right? It's facing this huge chain of mountains, and so when I went back to start Suki up, she struggled to start. She started, but well, at first she didn't start, and then she started on the second time, but then she struggled to start, and she's never done that to me. And Suki, by the way, is my beloved 2001 Lexus IS 300. That car was a dream car of mine when I was, I think, 19, and to have it is just awesome. But yeah, so she never did that to me. And yes, I'm using she because to me it's a she. She's never done that to me in 21 years of me having her. She always starts right up, and I knew something was wrong. And also driving down there, I noticed that at certain speeds that the engine struggled to reach the speed. And then from that point on, going faster, it struggled to go from one speed onto the next higher speed, and I knew something was wrong. Now, I know I have a 380,000 mile engine trying to reach 1 million miles. So I'm saying to myself, oh man, something is wrong, and it's deep in the engine. It's not something that's on the outside of the engine. I'm like, you know, we're talking pistons and piston rings and crankshafts, and I'm like, and then when I got to Tucson, I filled up with gas, and again the car struggled to start. And so after it started, after she started, I chose to park right there. Well, not right there, but there was a parking space, you know, right next to where the pump was. I chose to park there, and I had to think, because I did not want to, because at the time I didn't know what was happening. I did have an alternator that I just didn't trust anymore, and I did have a starter, the original starter, 21-year-old starter on the car, that I thought maybe the starter was failing, but it still didn't justify the engine struggling to maintain or reach certain speeds while I was driving down. So I'm like, okay, at least the alternator and the starter should be removed. And so I was there thinking, I was like, do I want to go and stay at a hotel in Tucson, Arizona, turn off the car, and I have a dead car, you know, because at the time I didn't know what was happening, okay, and how bad was it, and how fast it was getting worse and worse and worse. So I had to make a choice right then and there. So I decided to drive back home to El Paso from Tucson. So I chose to forego the museum, forego Saguaro, and drive straight back home, because I didn't know what was happening. Because whether it was whether it was the alternator or the starter or like those spark plugs. Now, granted, I changed my plugs about every 100,000 miles approximately, and I think the last time I changed it was not too long ago. So I was like, it can't be the spark plugs, but you know, you never know, because again, I have 380,000 miles on this engine. There could be issues, there could be leaks that I don't know about, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go and return back home, and we will finish this some other time, sooner than later. So right then and there, I decided, you know what? Pedal to the metal, back to El Paso. It's not that bad of a drive from Tucson back there, and that's exactly what I did. I just got into the car. Well, not got into the car because I was already in there. So while the car was still running, I did not turn it off. We decided, you know what? It's time to go. And we actually drove past the exit for the museum, and I was like, oh. I had a sigh of regret, I guess, if you will. But so this is why that I am filming this now from the Zoom HQ or Zoom desk, I guess you could say. And so that's where we are at with that. Since I've returned, I personally changed the alternator. I had a shop remove the starter. I just didn't have the time to do that. And then so far what the car still struggles to start even after the replacement of the alternator and starter. And then the shop recently discovered that I had a leak in the back of the engine, which that we didn't really see before. And the oil also leaked into the spark plug chambers as well, so which wasn't good, which is like a part of the ignition system. So that was fixed. Got new spark plugs now. Everything's cleaned out. However, we did do an engine compression test and found out that the engine is dying, unfortunately. So cylinder 2 is low. I don't recall what the number was, but it's like below 100. It's like slightly below 100. I think it's supposed to be 160 for my engine or something like that. And then cylinder 6 is at 134, where it should be about 160 something. So that means that the rings around the pistons are worn out, and of course I have a 380,000 mile engine, so it makes sense that that is the time for that to happen. But I was hoping that it wouldn't happen until the 900,000 mile, because I'm trying to reach 1 million miles on that engine and car. And but I think that the goal is still possible. It's just that now it's gonna be probably like 1 million miles on the engine block. So that's what I'm shooting for. So the plan is to have the engine be rebuilt. Of course, rebuilt with stronger pistons, stronger crankshaft, stronger rods, and we're still gonna keep it stock looking. We're not going to do its turbo setup because the fast car is the next car. Suki will forever be my traveling car. She is the car I get into to go take road trips. Like that car, it doesn't need to be fast for me, though I understand the way it looks, it suggests that, but it's just the way that I want to look. It's all a look, okay? That car is my travel car, and the other reason why that I'm going for an engine rebuild but stay NA, it's because I don't want to get stuck out there and let's say in who knows where Wyoming, who knows where Wyoming, who knows where South Dakota, who knows where North Dakota, with a stage 3 complicated build twin turbo IS300, where that I can't just take it to a shop that's local for them to fix it or fix the problem or stuff like that. So I want to keep it naturally aspirated the way it came, but built back better. And because it's not the fastest car, because the car, I think this car stock from Lexus was made with I think 215 horsepower at the crank and then 218 pound-feet of torque. It's not a lot of power. I mean, back then it was kind of impressive back in 2001 when it was made, but now it's like, you know, it's not that impressive. I understand that, but it's fast enough for me. You know, it's fast enough to do the job. It burns gas just right, because if I do a stage 3 whatever the heck, you know, trying to do a road trip with a car like that, like that will be my travel car, doing consistent trips with it. With that, I mean, I'll be like, you know, using a lot of gas, and like, you know, the way that gas prices are now, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And the next car that's coming, it should be coming sometimes late next year. It's gonna be tough to find a good example of that car that I want, but it's gonna be a V10. It's definitely gonna be probably the fastest car that I will own so far. So that car is gonna be the fast car, and plus every car that comes after that also will also be a fast car. But that particular car is my travel car. It's gonna stay NA. So we are going to rebuild the engine. Well, not me, but there's a shop that's going to do that. So Suki, my beloved IS300, will be scheduled, and what actually she is actually scheduled to go to the shop January 2nd. This build can take as long as 6 months because of, you know, we gotta wait for parts. Like, you know, waiting for parts is the big thing. And also that shop that's doing the build have a lot of other builds ahead of me. So it's just a matter of, you know, where my car falls in within that build. So I'm looking at it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 months. So when Suki comes back with a brand new engine, hopefully everything works well, they put it back together correctly, hoping, and we will redo the exhaust, redo the window tinting, redo the infotainment, because there's no point for me to go and do all that now. I'm going to wait until this major repair is done, and then after that we are going to start traveling like there's no tomorrow. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna be taking road trips and taking you places to see with me, because I've been thinking about this. And Lucille, my 2015 Hyundai Veloster Turbo, I was thinking about selling that car and replacing it with something else, but I really like that car. I mean, I don't buy cars I don't like. I really like that car. I still do. It's such a fun car to drive, like especially as a daily, you know, go to work, go do some, like, you know, groceries in it. I did do a few road trips in it, which it was a great ride. The front seats are amazingly comfortable. You can actually sleep on the front seats because, like, you know, to me they're that big and feel that good. So I've decided that I'm not going to sell her. She is going to be the new member starting now on the channel, which means that she's not going to remain exactly as she is now. She's going to change and match Suki's looks. So you will start seeing her changing. It's because she is now the next member of the channel, because I kind of wanted that car to stay out of the channel because that's my daily, you know, stay completely stocked, everything. But we are going to make some changes to make it look just as dramatic as the IS300. And yeah, so that's the explaining I felt that I had to do.